Hello, everyone. Randy Harrington here. Uh, I've got an interesting video to show you guys tonight. I was able to catch something on the thermal drone that behaved a little differently than the other animals that we were catching with the thermal drone. Now, you got to understand, out there at the 400, we have caught deer all the time with the drone. And you know the drone doesn't really scare them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some videos of how the deer react to the drone, so you can an idea. So when we get to the end of the video and you see this thing actively trying to avoid the drone, then you'll understand that there is a behavioral difference in whatever that was. So and this is my first time using a voiceover uh, part of this Filmora whatever editor that I'm using. So you can see that there's a couple of deer there in that field. So you can see them kind of nonchalant, not being too worried about the drone coming in above them. So they're just kind of hanging loose and staying in their location there. I mean, I can get pretty close to them with the drone, and then when I do, they bolt. But just enjoy it. But you're going to see the one that's laying down is going to leave a very nice heat signature on the ground when it leaves. So you'll see it. See, see that nice heat signature on the ground? That's cool. Well, anyway, so there they go. And so, I can see them, easily see them. They don't try to get too far away. And you can easily identify them. This video is going to be about 9 minutes long, so bear with me. Uh, you'll like it when we get to the end, and you can see the figure that I'm wanting to show you. So you can see that heat signature there across from that pond at the edge of the wood line. That's a deer. And there's a deer. You can see the heat signature in the field. And this is the upper part of the 400 property. This is the part where they brush hog some of the fields, and so these are some big open fields in the middle of surrounded by woods. And so I was using the drone to scan the edges of these woods where I was wanting to kind of look in the wood line and see if I see anything, inside the wood line around these fields. Uh, but needless to say, uh, the main thing I want you to see here is the deer and how they respond to the drone, which most of the time it's just not a very big deal to them. As a matter of fact, this deer coming up here, I'm able to get pretty close to it. And you can see up at the top of the screen, there's a couple more deer. Okay, so we're coming up to 5 minutes. 5 minutes into the video, and so that means we're over halfway done. So there'll be a few more shots of some deer uh, before we get to the figure that I want to have you guys take a look at. So see, I'm not even sure that deer is even aware that the drone is above it. It's aware now. At this point, it must think it's a big mosquito. Okay, so here's the field where I'm sitting in the front part of this field, and this particular field behind me is full of scrub trees, scrub brush and trees, anywhere from 15 to 20 feet tall. So it's a pretty rough field. You'll be able to see a few paths brush hogged through it, but not very many. So there's some more deer. You can see them, two or three deer at a time. A lot of times, deer are very seldom by themselves. They're mainly, they're mainly herd animals. So they're in at least groups of two or more. So every time you see a heat signature on here, especially in and around the fields, uh, it appears to be deer. So you see there on the other side of that pond, you can see a heat signature. And there is lots and lots. You can see how far the woods go back in the distance. Just nothing but woods. All right, so you can see the fields there and how much tree growth is in these openings. Now this is coming back towards me. I'm sitting in the chair. See that heat signature? That heat signature right there in the center is me sitting in the chair. So that's me. And the field where the figure that we're going to look at is in there, back in there, where all the scrub trees are. There's some deer there. You can see the deer just in the wood line in a little bit of an opening. They're not trying to evade. They're not trying to run. They're just, you know, in that kind of open area location within the wood line. So now we're going to be coming up on the area of interest that I want you guys to look at. So when we get down to this at the end of this field, I'm going to place an arrow that shows you a little tiny dot because it's in such a distance. I want you to pay attention to that little heat signature that I'm going to point the arrow to, and it moves into the wood line. As I head that way, it's immediately trying to go into the wood line. See it? As I start to drop the drone, it drops into the headline or into the wood line completely. And it's a singular figure. You can see it in the wood line there. You can see the heat signature right there. It's just inside the wood line, and I can't identify it. So I swing the drone around and I drop it down and I try hard to see if I can't spot it in there, but it retreated just far enough where I can't see it anymore. And it certainly looked like it behaved differently than all the other shots that I got of the deer. The deer didn't behave that way, but this thing at a great distance made an effort to dip into the wood line as the drone started heading in that direction. So I spend a few minutes here looking for it. I can't find it. You will see a small heat signature, but that's a bird in a tree. Uh, right before I take off, you'll see just a small heat signature, which is it turns out to be a bird in a tree. But the figure that walked from the field, and you can see how heavy the scrub is in this field, but whatever it was, as the drone just started to head in that direction, and this was the field behind where I was sitting. So was there something interested in me sitting in that chair? Because I had been there for quite a while, uh, scoping out the rest of the upper properties here. But uh, That's it. See that little heat signature there in the wood line? That's a bird in the tree. As I go up, you can see that it's in the tree. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this.